What is up, Pacer Nation? Welcome to the Pacer Pulse podcast, the heartbeat of Indiana basketball.
Welcome, welcome.
And what do you know, Pacer Nation? I have to come on here again and talk about another loss. We lose to the Miami Heat last night, 140 to 118, I think it was. And not a pretty game. I mean, we looked good for about the first quarter or so. We kind of always do this the first half. Siakam went on a tear. Nembhard, I think, had a season high of like 15, 16 assists. It looks like Mathurin kind of bounced back. He scored 25 points in this game, and he kind of got some offense finally going where he's been struggling to shoot from the field. He shot a lot better this game. He did have some rough turnovers, but overall, I would say he had a bounce back game. Aaron Nesmith is back, and I think all of Pacer Nation is pretty excited to see that. He came off the bench tonight, and another storyline, Johnny Furphy started tonight, which I actually liked him in the lineup, I will say. I thought he had a pretty good game overall. A lot of different things happened this game, but like I said, we end up losing this game 140 to 118, and I will go ahead and say a big defining reason as to why we lost this game tonight would be the turnovers. We took care of the ball like pretty horribly bad. I would say probably has to be our worst game of the season turnover-wise. I'm sure I'm wrong. It may be recency bias, but like it was awful, guys. We couldn't take care of the ball whatsoever. But it's good to see like Siakam, Mathurin have good bounce-back offensive games. Nembhard, he struggled to shoot from the field, but overall his assist numbers were crazy this game. Very good, like 15 assists, like I said. Pretty hard to beat whenever you're going dishing them out like that. So how I like to do these, I like to break it down quarter by quarter, the good and the bad I saw. But I mean, when you give up 140 points, you're not going to win many games. And when you turn it over so much, that's also going to contribute to a lot of losses. So, but I'll dive into this. So like I said, Johnny Furphy got his first start of his career tonight, which is crazy to say. But he started with Nembhard, Mathurin, Siakam, and Huff. So it was those five, and I really like it. It gives our lineup more size. I think we were just a little small with Quentin Jackson out there, and it wasn't really working anyways. So I think it gave us a nice look at something else. And Furphy, I've been liking his defense this year. If he could just get his three ball to come around, but he's been having some nice dunks lately. He has some good dunks in this game too. Just getting out in transition and being that outlet guy, which is nice to see. He's been rebounding very well. I think he had like 7 rebounds tonight. I want to highlight Furphy, and if anything in this lost season, it's nice to see his progress and what he's kind of been able to bring so far. And like I said, if he could just start hitting the threes at a higher clip, I think we could really have some on our hands. I'm not saying all-star at all, but borderline solid starter / good rotation player on a top 8 championship level team, possibly. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not trying to jump the gun, but I've been very excited by what I've seen from Furphy so far since he's been back. But start this game, Nembhard, he had a pass to Jay Huff, who finishes in the post inside. So you could kind of tell we were trying to get Jay Huff some touches inside early, and he was having some good finishes. And then Nembhard, he had another beautiful pass to Huff inside, who finished with the dunk. So just some very easy lob passes into Huff this game early on where Nembhard was able to find him, and Huff finished pretty strong inside. So I would say Huff had a pretty decent game overall. And then Siakam, he had a beautiful spin move into a mid-range jumper. Just what we see from Siakam game in and game out. Just that beautiful spin move and finish in the mid-range. He's money from that shot. And then Mathurin, he had a nice cut, and Nembhard hit him with the pass, and he got the layup and finish. And I'll continue to say this. Mathurin has just drastically improved on his cutting, when to cut, especially against the zone. Like, I've seen that where he just cuts to the free throw line. He's money from that mid-range shot this year. So I don't know why we don't continue to try to hit that more whenever teams play zone against us, because he gets into the paint and he could either kick it out or hit that mid-range shot just about every time. It's been awesome. And then Siakam, he had an early 2 fouls with like 7 minutes left in the first quarter. So he had to come out pretty early in the first quarter there. And then this is when Nesmith came in. I was like excited. I put Nesmith is back in my notes, ! Because it feels like he's been out forever. And even though it's only been like maybe a month and a half, I can't remember. That's a long time in the NBA, of course, but it's awesome to see him back. And I know they're going to ease him back into playing. I think it's smart to bring him off the bench for the time being to kind of get his legs back under him. and just kind of continue to start in Furphy to see what we got there, what he can do with more opportunity. But it's just awesome to see Nesmith back. Obviously, kind of had a rough game. He has some threes at least, but overall, it was just nice to see him back out there. He had the worst plus minus tonight, but I'm not knocking him for that because it's his first game back in a long time. And then Jay Huff, he had an awesome block on the next play when shortly after Nesmith came in. Then Mathurin, he just had two very rough passes early on. He had like 4 turnovers or 5 this game. He just, like I said, everybody on the team was turning it over tonight, but he had a couple that were kind of rough looking. And then Furphy, he had strong defense on Yakachonis on one play. I just liked his defensive play on Yakachonis there. And then Nesmith, he had his first shot back, and it was a 3. Awesome to see. Hopefully he kind of comes back and is able to regain that efficiency from the three-point line and even from the field. Still struggling with things off the dribble. Anytime he kind of takes anything off the dribble, it's not pretty. But like I said, he's just coming back, so I'm not holding it against him. And then Furphy, he has some awesome defense on Jaime Jaquez, and he got the steal and ran out for a fast break and got the alley-oop finished. It's just nice to have somebody else other than pretty much Obi Toppin who can get out on the fast break and finish with some dunks. I mean, Mathurin kind of can too, but it's just not as often as you see that. Or even Siakam to that extent. He's not like really getting out and getting electrifying dunks. So Furphy kind of adding that element to the team really kind of brings some more energy, which I love to see. I love seeing that out of Furphy, and if he can continue to do those sort of things, I mean, I'm probably speaking too soon here, but if you guys have been listening to this, you already know that I'm not the biggest Jarris Walker fan right now, and I honestly just prefer Furphy way over Jarris right now, so I hope he continues to get more minutes than Jarris moving forward. And then Siakam, he loses the ball and leads to a fast break layup, just kind of highlighting some of our awful turnovers we've been having. And then Siakam, he got stripped on the next play too, like just bad turnovers. Walker, terrible pass for a turnover. Just we're used to seeing that from Jarris this year, unfortunately. And then Quentin Jackson hits a pull-up mid-range shot, which is nice to see. Then Siakam, he had to step back into a pull-up 3. He was just on fire from offense this game. And then Siakam, he had to stop and hit a turnaround mid-range shot. And he has to be the most money guy from the mid-range in the NBA this season. Him and like TJ. Maybe it's just because we're watching these games all the time and we see him hit these shots so often, but he has to be one of the best mid-range shooters in the NBA. And then, so that was the end of the first quarter here. So at the end of the first quarter, we were losing 28-29, so we were right in this game. Usually we start off pretty bad or we start on fire and then we just fall off after that, so I feel like this is kind of in the middle. But we were shooting 59% from the field, 29% from 3, not very good. But the Heat, they were shooting 37% from the field, 27% from 3, so our defense wasn't bad, and the only reason why they were ahead was because, I'll get to it, but turnovers. And then assists, we had 9, they had 8. Rebounding was pretty even at this time. We had 12. They had 14. They had 7 offensive rebounds, though. We had 2. So that is something we continue to just give up. Way too many offensive rebounds. And then we had 3 blocks to their 1. We had 1 steal to their 4. So we had 6 turnovers after the first quarter. They had 2. And they already had 6 points off turnovers. We had 2. So you can see we're splitting the difference here on some things, why they still had the lead, even though we shot way better than them. And then the bench, we had 7 points to their 10. Points in the paint, we had 18. We were actually leading that at this point, and they had 12. So not bad, obviously, ending the first quarter. Then our scoring leaders after the first, Siakam had 11. He was on fire at first. Furphy had like 2 points, 3 rebounds, 1 steal after the first quarter. Mathurin, 2 points, 3 rebounds. Nembhard had 2 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. Jay Huff had 4 points, 2 assists, 2 blocks early on. Nesmith, 3 points. I mean, guys were just contributing, in a pretty balanced effort. So I really liked what I saw early on, at least. We weren't getting just dominated. And like I said, it's just, we've seen a lot of back and forth with this team too often this year. But going into the second quarter, Ethan Thompson, he stripped Jaime Jaquez, and then Jackson gets the ball for a jump ball. I just wanted to highlight that. I thought it was a good defensive play by Ethan Thompson where he stood his ground, was able to get a steal on Jaime Jaquez, who is quite bigger than Ethan Thompson. I mean, Jaime Jaquez is like 6'7", 225, I think, or he's just got a lot more size, and he was able to kind of body up Jaquez on that play a little bit and get the steal, which he just shows some good defensive plays every night, like quite often. Ethan Thompson. And then Huff, he causes a turnover on a moving screen, which just highlighting another bad turnover we had. Quentin Jackson, he had a dump off pass to Jay Huff, who finishes with a reverse dunk. Classic Jay Huff reverse dunk. If you get one of those every game, that'd be pretty awesome. But he had a couple offensive or good dunks this game. I think he had 3 dunks this game. And then the Pacers, we were on like a 9-2 run at this point. Then Huff, he had a strong drive and finish with a dunk, which it was kind of crazy. Like, he just has one of these almost every game. I just think people don't think he can do it or respect it at least. I'm not sure, but he had the classic drive from the 3-point line, finished with a dunk. He kind of like reached out to do it too. Great play by Huff. I mean, can't give him more props for that. Then Nembhard, he had a pass to Potter for a dunk. Like, Nembhard was just assisting all over the court tonight. It was good to see. And then we were just not scoring for a stretch here after that 9-2 run. We were just struggling to hit shots. This is kind of like been our MO this year. We go on these heaters where we're hitting everything, then all of a sudden we just stop hitting shots, and it's hard for us to just throw the ball in the ocean at a certain point. It's kind of just confusing to see a lot of times. So at this point, the Heat went on 11-2 run. Like I said, we always are going on these runs here. It's kind of crazy. And then Siakam, he passes to Nesmith on a drive and a kick out to the corner 3 for Nesmith. And Nesmith hits the second 3 of the game. And then Nesmith hit another 3 shortly after that, hitting his third 3 of the game. And then Siakam, he hit a 3-point shot. So we were really kind of getting it going from 3 this game. And then Siakam, he hit another 3. Like I said, he was just on fire this game. And then Siakam hit another mid-range shot. And Siakam, like I wrote here, he was just taking over the game, just offensively. You could tell that he didn't like what he did against the Celtics, where he kind of had an off night. I didn't recap the Celtics game because I didn't really watch it fully, but it was just ugly regardless. Like, we had a terrible second quarter that game that cost us that game. We gave up 47 points. Like, you're never going to win basketball games that way. So you could tell he was just really trying to bounce back from that game. And we were only down 3 at this point after this little Siakam Nesmith run here. And then Huff, he hit a 3 to tie the game at this point. And then Siakam, he hit a pull-up 3 to give us like a 1-point lead at halftime. So at halftime, it was 60-59. We were up by 1. We were shooting 51% from the field, 38 from 3. Very good shooting numbers. They were shooting 44% from the field, 31% from 3. Assists, we were up 17-14. Rebounds, 24-26 was pretty even. They were beating us on the offensive rebounds, though. They had 10, we had 5. And they had 7 steals. We had 3. We had 3 blocks to their 2. And then turnovers, we had 12. They had 8. Just bad turnovers. Points off turnovers were pretty even at this point, though. We had 12. They had 13. And bench points were even, 19 each. Points in the paint, 26 we had, and they had 34. So somewhat close still. Usually we get annihilated in the paint. And at least we were somewhat close to being even. I mean, just not horribly bad at least. And then our halftime leaders. Nembhard had 10 assists at halftime. That's pretty crazy. Like I said, he was really his best playmaking game of the year by far. But he had 2 points. Like I said, he shot very poorly this game. 2 rebounds. Mathurin only had 2 points at this point and 4 rebounds. Furphy had 2 points, 5 rebounds, assists, a steal. Siakam, 24 points at halftime. He went nuclear this game. It was crazy. 2 rebounds and an assist. Huff had 11 points. No rebounds, sadly. 2 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. Walker had 2 points. Nesmith had 9 points, 4 rebounds. Quentin Jackson, 4 points. Oh, and I forgot to mention, TJ McConnell didn't play this game, so that's why you haven't heard anything about him yet. But Quentin Jackson, Ethan Thompson were kind of getting a lot of those minutes. And Ethan Thompson had 0 points, but he had some strong defensive plays. Tony Bradley had 2. Micah Potter had 2 points, 3 rebounds. So, I mean, not bad overall. Like I said, plus-minus leaders at half. I like to do this at half and then just at the end of the game. But Nembhard was a +4, Mathurin +2, Furphy -5. But I feel like that some of these are always misleading to me, so take this as you will. But even at this point in the game, at halftime, Nembhard was 1 for 9 from the field, 0 for 5 from 3. He just continues to have these random games where he just struggles to hit anything. But he definitely had a lot better third quarter, so I'll get into that. And then Mathurin was 1 for 5, 0 for 2 from 3. So you kind of thought, this might be another rough shooting night for Mathurin, but he completely went off in the second half. I'll get into that too. Siakam, 10 of 13. 4 for 5 from 3. He was awesome for +9. J Huff +10 at 5 of 6 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3. And then Nesmith was 3 for 6 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, but he was a -12. Somehow Jarris was like a +8, even though he didn't really do anything. So that was kind of the plus minus and the shooting numbers at halftime there. So going into the third quarter, Siakam was just continuing his strong play and continuing to just get buckets. Nembhard, he had several like very sloppy turnovers, especially in the second half. Like I said, the whole team did. So he's not just getting singled out here, but there's too many times where he just loses his dribble and literally just gives the ball away. So that happened on this play. And then Nembhard, he had a nice mid-range shot. And then Nembhard hits a 3 off the dribble. He had like 9 points early in the third quarter. Like I said, he really kind of started scoring here in the third quarter. And then Nembhard had a nice mid-range shot. Mathurin had a turnover. Then Mathurin had 2 threes back-to-back pretty much at one point. Then Mathurin had a strong take and gets fouled, hits the and one, but he missed the free throw, but it was a strong finish. Nembhard had a turnover. We had another Pacer turnover that just led to a foul. We had 7 turnovers for the Pacers in the third quarter alone, which is awful. Just coughing the ball up, not taking care of the ball, being reckless. And the Heat, they had 27 points off turnovers at this point. Yeah, you heard that right. 27 points off turnovers, and that's just in the third quarter. So this is going to explain a lot as to why the game was so bad. And then Nesmith had a nice chase down block. I thought that was nice, but the Heat got the offensive rebound and laid it up. Nobody was there to get the rebound. And then Nembhard had another mid-range shot. He had 13 points in the third quarter. And then Siakam finishes the layup in transition to kind of end the third quarter. So after the third quarter, we were down 94-98. And as you kind of heard me saying, the turnovers, when you have 7 turnovers in one quarter, you're not going to generally win that quarter very often. And we were shooting 54% from the field after the third quarter, 37 from 3. So we're still shooting great, even though some guys are shooting awful. And then the Heat were 46% from the field, 36% from 3. So they were creeping up, shooting a little better. And rebounds, we had 37 to their 35. So we were winning that battle. Offensive rebounds, they had 13, we had 9. Steals, they had 12 steals, we had 4. Blocks, we had 5, they had 2. And then we had 20 turnovers to their 9 at this point. That is just absolutely horrendous. And then points off turnovers, they had 30 points off turnovers, and we had 15. So if you want to see what happened, if you're just looking at the box score, all I got to tell you is the turnovers literally cost us this game, and then we collapsed in the fourth quarter. And then bench points, they had 36, we had 20, so their bench was killing us. Points in the paint, we had 40, they had 52. They started just, and a lot of this was just off like transition. They were getting easy layups at certain points because of our turnovers. So they had 52 points in the paint, we had 40. Then our leaders after the end of the third quarter, Nembhard had 15 points, 3 rebounds, 14 assists at this point. He really helped carry the offense there in the third quarter because he was just awful there on offense. Besides the assist coming into the third quarter, Mathurin, he had 12 points, 6 rebounds, so he literally had 10 points in this quarter. Furphy had 7 points, 7 rebounds. Siakam, 29 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. It's electric. J Huff didn't score. He had 11 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists, 3 steals. 3 blocks, 1 steal. And then Walker, 2 points, 3 rebounds. Nesmith, 9 points, 5 rebounds, 2 blocks. Quentin Jackson, 4 points, 2 rebounds. Micah Potter, the same stats as earlier. So going into the fourth quarter, Miami, they just quickly extend the lead back to 9. I just felt like I blinked, and before we knew it, the Miami Heat were up 9. And then Mathurin, he had a drive inside for a layup. Quentin Jackson had a terrible drive, and he drives inside and he throws it outside. I don't know if he just thought somebody was there, but it went to the second row in the stands. I'm kidding. I don't know, but just a very rough pass in general. Just kind of highlighted how recklessly we were taking care of the ball this game. And then Mathurin, he had a fast break dunk. And then Quentin Jackson had a foul on Jaime Jaquez, who hit the and one. So just kind of a rough defensive play there. And then Siakam had an offensive rebound for 2 points. Mathurin, he had a drive inside and finished over Andrew Wiggins. It was kind of like a little floater over Andrew Wiggins there. Siakam had a turnover. Furphy, he had a monster slam in transition. that was just nasty. But at this point, the Heat, they were on a 17-6 run. So we just kind of collapsed here in the fourth. Mathurin, he had a nice mid-range shot, and then Mathurin hits a pull-up three to kind of help bring us back, but the Heat were still on a 20-8 run at this point. Nembhard, he got blocked at the rim. And then at this point in the game, in the fourth quarter, Rick brought in the subs, and it was pretty much over. So the Heat just went on a nasty run there to end the fourth. And the end of the game, like I said, we lost 116 to 140. I'm sorry, I thought it was 118. 116 to 140. Anytime you go up 140 points, pretty awful. And we gave up 42 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, just almost a repeat of what happened in Boston in the second quarter where we gave up 47 points. I mean, how are we giving up 40 points? And we only scored 22. So literally every quarter before that, we had 28 points in the first. They had 29. We had 32 points in the second quarter. They had 30. We had 34 points in the third. They had 39. And then we get outscored by 20 points in the fourth. So even amidst all those turnovers, like I said, that we had most of the game, we still almost were like outscoring them in each quarter, or at least within 5 points in each quarter. And then the fourth quarter, they just blew it open and outscored us by 20. And that's how you get to 140 to 116. Just, it doesn't make much sense a lot of times, but it does obviously when you look at these stats and you kind of see what's going on. But the end of the game stats, we were shooting 50% from the field, 32 from three. And what's sad is the Heat ended up shooting better than us at the end of this game. They were shooting 51% from the field, 39 from three. So we were winning that for pretty much most of the game until that fourth quarter happened. Our offense collapsed, and we just give up an astronomical amount of points. And then the assists, we had 30, they had 31. Rebounds, we had 45 to their 49, so that was pretty even at least. 17 offensive rebounds for the Heat. We had 15, so we evened that out even almost. But they had 17 steals. We had 6. They had 4 blocks. We had 5. And then we had 26 turnovers to their 11. When you have 15 more turnovers than the other team, 26 in total is just insane. That's horribly bad. And the fact that we were even in this game still and had a lead at one point in the fourth quarter speaks volumes to how well we were doing in every other aspect almost. And then we just started missing every shot, had more turnovers, and it just blew the doors open on us. Points off turnovers, they had 38. We had 19. That's all I have to say. Bench points, they had 58 to our 23. I mean, we got annihilated in bench points. Points in the paint, 78 we had 56. So, again, got destroyed in the paint, but a lot of that was just off the turnovers because they're just getting easy layups after our turnovers. So, I mean, you're going to have a lot of points in the paint after that. But to end the game, our stat leaders, Nembhard had 15 points, 3 rebounds, 16 assists. So pretty much after that third quarter, Nembhard didn't score really at all. Only had maybe a few. He had 6 assists total in the second half. So, I mean, still good, obviously, because sometimes you only have 6 in the entire game. So not taking away with that at all. He had an awesome assist game, even if he had some rough turnovers. I think he had 4 turnovers at least, but everybody in this game was coughing the ball up. And Mathurin, he ended up with 25 points, 6 rebounds. So if you heard me earlier, 2 steals as well. If you heard me earlier, he had 2 points at halftime. So he literally exploded for 23 points in the second half. It was great to see him bounce back on offense. Had some rough turnovers, though. And I thought his defense actually wasn't bad tonight. I thought he actually looked pretty good on that end. But it was just nice to see him finally get some shots to fall. I hope that kind of helps him bounce back from all these rough games he's been having lately. And Johnny Furphy finished with 9 points, 7 rebounds, assists, a steal. I have nothing to complain about Johnny Furphy really tonight. I thought he was good. And then Siakam, 33 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. Amazing. Classic Siakam game. Even better than what he normally does. He was just awesome. J. Huff finished with 11. Same stats pretty much as earlier. Walker, 3 points, 3 rebounds. Nesmith finished with 9 points, 5 rebounds, 2 blocks, and an assist, but he only played 19 minutes, so we're going to ease him back, I know, but it was just awesome to see him back out there. Quentin Jackson, 4 points, 3 assists. Ethan Thompson didn't score, but I thought he had some strong defensive plays and some rebounds. Tony Bradley, 3 points, 4 rebounds. Micah Potter, 2 points, 4 rebounds. Cam Jones got some minutes again this game, 3 minutes. He had 2 points, 2 rebounds. And it kind of saddened me because he missed his first NBA shots ever this game. He was literally 100% from the field, 100% from 3 until this game. and then he missed some shots finally. So I was like kind of bummed out to see that, but it's going to be hard for him to get minutes, of course, now that Nesmith's back and then Shepard's coming back soon. But I would love to see him to actually get some real minutes at some point, just see what he can do. Just kind of like what we're wanting from Furphy. Maybe Cam Jones could play over Shepard at some point. I don't know. It would just be cool to see what he can at least bring. And maybe if like TJ McConnell gets shut down more games, that we could maybe sneak in Cam Jones as like the backup point guard, even though he's more of a combo. So, and then more on the plus minuses and maybe some of the shooting here. Nembhard finished the game with 3 turnovers, but he shot 7 of 17 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3. So continues to be pretty much on and off of good shooting numbers. It's usually either good or it's really horribly bad. One of those. It was pretty much one of those games where it was horribly bad, but at least he had that strong third quarter and he had 16 assists. So, but he was a negative 10 this game. Mathurin was a negative 17. He shot 9 of 16 from the field, though, 3 of 7 from 3. So that was awesome to see his shooting numbers get back to being very good. So let's hope that's kind of a trend that can continue forward because he's been really struggling from the field as of late. And he had 5 turnovers, so a very rough turnover game for Mathurin. And then Furphy, 4 for 6 from the field. Didn't make a 3, but he was a negative 13. Siakam had 5 turnovers, but he was 14 of 21 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3, negative 14. Siakam had a lot of those rough turnovers too tonight, but everybody did. Huff, 5 of 8 from the field. He was a plus 5, so one of the better plus minuses. Walker, he had 3 turnovers, but he was a plus 5, 0 for 1 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3. So one shot somehow was still a plus in this game. I'm not sure how that happened. Nesmith, negative 26. Quentin Jackson, negative 16. Ethan Thompson, negative 10. Micah Potter, negative 15. Everybody's a negative besides like Huff and Walker. So that's pretty much it for that game, guys. I mean, like I said, I could chalk it up to the turnovers were awful, points off turnovers, and then the fact that we gave up 42 points in the fourth quarter really sealed the deal. There's not really much more that can be said after that when your offense just kind of goes into a stink fest there in the fourth quarter. There's not much you're going to really be able to do to win the game. And then the lead, they scored 140 because we put our subs in too at one point, and it just got even more ugly after that. But all in all, another rough Pacer game, fans and Pacer Nation. And man, I would love to like talk about a win at one point, but I will say a win for this was the fact that we got to see Nesmith back finally. So we're going to start. That's why we released Garrison Matthews too. I didn't know that Nesmith was coming back already. So I think we saw, oh, Nesmith's going to be ready to play soon, and that's why we kind of were like, all right, we'll release him and bring in another center, at least get another shot at another center, I guess, especially with Isaiah Jackson being hurt. And Micah Potter's been like okay. I mean, he's not playing anything crazy, I think, like minutes-wise, but I think he's actually not been bad, so I haven't hated what I've seen, but I don't have any high expectations either. And like I said, I really like that Furphy got his first start of the year. I thought he has been playing like pretty well, especially since he was kind of rusty coming back from the injury, but it'd be cool to see him continue to start until Nesmith's kind of ready to play in that role, and which maybe he could next game, who knows, but I really liked what I saw out of Furphy, and I continue to stress that I think he should get more minutes than Walker because minutes are going to be hard to come by once like Shepard gets healthy again, and now that Nesmith's healthy again, and eventually Obi Toppin's coming back in February, so almost next month. Yeah, so it's not looking good for Walker, I think, personally. I think he's going to be one of the ones demoted, and I honestly think he's going to be traded at some point. I just think that I think him and Isaiah Jackson are going to be the ones that are going to be moved because we got to wait till January 15th for Jackson to be available for trade. But that's probably why we're not going to see any more news or any movement until at least that date because we're going to want to use like Jackson's contract as well in a deal. And that just makes the most sense to me. And maybe we throw in Shepard too, because like I said, we have Furphy, we have Nesmith coming back, and I think people forget too, Walker and Shepard will be extension eligible maybe next year, I think it is. So they're coming up on those, and are we really going to want to pay either of those guys? Probably not, as what we've seen this year so far at least. A lot more games to go, but I'm not encouraged. I'd rather see Furphy get the minutes. I'd rather see Nesmith come back, maybe still get a lot of those minutes. Mathurin, of course. I'd like to see Cam Jones get in there and get some more playing time. And I think he's deserving of that. I mean, obviously he's playing in garbage time, but it would be cool to see him playing meaningful minutes and see what he can do. I think he could help take care of the ball and be kind of more of a combo guard out there. played next to Nembhard at times, even like TJ at times, or even if TJ starts sitting some more games, so we preserve him a little more. If Cam Jones could kind of slide in that backup spot. I like Quentin Jackson, don't get me wrong, but he is a two-way guy. I mean, at the end of the day, granted, I think one of the best two-way guys in the NBA. I love me some Quentin Jackson, don't get me wrong, but he's been pretty rough a little bit since he's been back from his injury. And I mean, we spent capital on Cam Jones. We literally traded for a second round pick, or traded up. I don't know what we did exactly. I think we traded up to get him. So we clearly thought he was valuable enough to go getting. And it's kind of like similar to what we did to Johnny Furphy, I think, too. Or like if we see a guy that we think is worth trading up for, we did it for a reason. So I think it's time to finally just give Cam Jones that Quentin Jackson role. And even if it's 10 to 15 minutes a game, maybe he starts sneaking into some of the Ben Shepherd minutes and Walker minutes too, sadly. But I just think we've reached a point where Furphy, I've liked what I've seen, his energy, his defensive presence. I think he's only going to get better on defense, and he'll get more confident in his shot too as he continues to play. And he's just such a threat in transition and on defense, and he makes the right plays a lot of times. He's not messing up. I just think he's worth playing a lot more than Jarris right now. And even Shepherd when he comes back, even though Shepherd was kind of trending up more, he was starting to hit some more shots, but maybe he can just at least improve his trade value so we can get some type of starting center. But all in all, Pacer Nation, turnovers in that fourth quarter really killed us. Nembhard, awesome assist game. Had a strong third quarter. Mathurin, nice, strong, bounce back offensive game. Good rebounding game, of course. A little sloppy on turnovers, but everybody in this game was. Siakam, a phenomenal game. I mean, great bounce back offensive game. It just sucks that a lot of this went to waste in a loss like this. But let's hope we can carry that momentum into the next game. And that's about all I got for this game, Pacer Nation. And so Monday, I do a player story series every Monday. If you haven't caught those, I had the one over TJ McConnell last Monday. I've done it over Siakam before that, Nembhard and Mathurin. And I got to think about which player I'm going to do. And it might be a surprise. So be on the lookout for that for tomorrow. And I also want to cover this. If you guys listen to this podcast on YouTube, you can also listen on Spotify, on Apple Music, if you want the convenience of that. And if you listen to this on those listening platforms, you can also watch it on YouTube. And I would always appreciate a 5-star review, a good review on the listening platforms, and then subscribe, like, and comments on the YouTube. I would really appreciate it, guys. It would mean so much to me, and I just appreciate you guys taking your time to even listen to this and listen to me. It means a lot to me, Pacer Nation, and I'm just a diehard fan like you guys that I can't get enough of this team, even when we're bad, but that's what it is. I just love basketball, being born and raised from Indiana. It's hard not to be, but I really hope you guys enjoyed the episode, Pacer Nation, and I will talk to you soon.